So we're joined for more via video link by Makiba Yamano, Chief of Child Protection at UNICEF South Africa, as we continue to highlight the safety of children in the country. This as the search for 6-year-old Joslin Smith continues in Cape Town. Well, good afternoon to you and thank you for joining us on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon.
Makiba, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, absolutely, and thank you for making time. Makiba, at this point, perhaps you could speak to the role of parents, caregivers, guardians at large. Just also the need for protection and protecting the vulnerable, of children as well. What's emerging regarding the details of this case?
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, we hope that the child is found safe in coming days and then weeks. And then we hope that all the search would be going successful. Now for the safety tips for the parents and then caregivers. In general, the South Africa, I think the risks of exploitation and potentially the risks of being exposed to the danger and physical harm could be potentially high. So for the younger age group of the children, it is quite important for the parents and caregivers sharing basic safety tips with the children, which areas are safe to be and which areas are not safe to be. What kind of information, especially their names, the address, their parents' names, what kind of information should be kept confidential and not should be shared with the foreigners or the strangers to the children. And these safety tips can help children to make sure that they do not disclose their personally related information or identifiable information to the strangers around them. And then also parents, that they know the children's routine and then who they are usually with, and making sure that wherever children goes, that there are information that is shared with the parents and caregivers at a time, that they are able to trace these younger age group of the children. For adolescent group, I think there is a, yes, please.
Well, thank you for setting that context, Makiba, because I also want to look at the legal and social implications in a South African context. What are you observing as UNICEF on that front?
I think there is quite a strong awareness among the law enforcement officers, as well as the government officials and the civil society organizations, that we need to protect children. However, I think more can be done, and then we tend to respond when the issue happens. However, I think the prevention is always better than the response after it occurs, like in the case of this particular case. So we need to also invest as a society together how we can protect children and mechanism within the families and community where we can invest more to prevent these issues. And we are investing on the family strengthening program, and then also making sure that community awareness raising program, so that they are able to join hands in the community space and able to protect their children in their hands before this kind of horrible incidents occurs to our children here in the neighborhood.
Well, speaking about prevention and protection mechanisms, I wonder if we shine a spotlight on the effectiveness of the SAPS, the police service, the Department of Social Development, as well the community as well, just in terms of intervening, enforcing child protection laws, but also just the safety of children and the most vulnerable, by shining a spotlight on the systemic issues in our country.
Definitely. I think recently the Department of Social Development has been launched the RESIHA program, which is speaking to the resilience of the children and then the importance in the early intervention and prevention of child protection incidents to occur in the community space. It also has some of the life skill building in the children's younger age group of the children and adolescent children, and then also making sure there is a child and the youth care workers also working together with the civil society to make sure that they offer safe after school program, so that they do not necessarily wander in an unsafe environment, but they have a safe space that they can go to, able to catch up with their homeworks, able to be provided with the nutritious meals, and able to have a strong adult attachment so that they are able to be looked after by the safe adults who has been screened by the Child Protection Registry, so that they are able to stay in a safe space until their parents or caregivers are at home. So I think there is a greater effort by the government side, but I think we are also being aware that government budget has been also cut to invest more on this preventative program, which UNICEF together with the government appeal for the National Treasury budget allocation to be increased on the prevention side, not only looking at the response side.
Well, Makiba, what if the unsafe environment is in the household itself? How do we respond to that as a community, as a society at large? And also just shining a spotlight on the siblings, of Joslin, if she has any. I mean, what mitigating measures would also be put in place in such an instance? Talk us through that as well.
Definitely. Unfortunately, some of the children may not necessarily have a safe and nurturing environment. And we also recognize that some of the frontline workers has been already trained to detect some of these early signs of abuse, neglect, and then unfortunate incidences of physical violence or emotional violence in the families. Now, for all the government workers are also obliged to report of those incidences to the Department of Social Development so that there is an early detection and then the early response. I think as a community as a large, sometimes when see these instances, we tend to think it is within the family, it is within their household, not of our business. We also appeal to all the community members or relative members if they see any of these household incidences that could potentially harm the children for the long run. I think we also need to speak up and then able to report so that proper professional could be intervened in that situation to save the children from at-risk situation. I think rather than keeping in doubt, it is good to take action. It could save one child's life.
And speaking about, responsibility and taking action, because not all these cases come to the fore and get, the amount of media attention that we've seen with regards to this case. I wonder if we could speak to the issue of responsible reporting, verifying facts, the issue of fake information as the investigation unfolds, the impact that it also has at large.
Indeed. So United Nations for Children's Fund do not necessarily at this stage, is in a position to heavily engage in the investigation process. However, we have a particular program related to online safety, especially for the adolescent group or even teenage children who have been into an online space that are not necessarily visible in the physical space and being, let's say, groomed by strangers or somebody they met online and then now going to be exploited or abused. We do have a unit who is working together with Interpol and then offering support to the South African police services to do the investigation that is related to child sexual abuse or exploitation online space. And then through that, there is a network of the investigators that could assist in scanning the images and then able to support this databasing. So I think these are the issues that we are quite concerned in the online safety space. And then we continue to also raise awareness for the adolescent and teenager children that we do have support for this particular group of children, not only necessarily the physical violence and then physical risks we see around in the community for younger age group of the children.
Makiba, thank you for joining us on the SABC at this hour. We'll leave that conversation there for now. Just as the search for Joslin Smith continues, we're shining a spotlight on child safety awareness at large. Makiba Yamano is the Chief of Child Protection at UNICEF South Africa, weighing in on that conversation.